Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my review of the death battle between Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. For those of you that are new to these reviews, I focus less on the animation and humor of the death battle, and instead focus on the research and critical analysis. You see, I wish to improve my own skills in these fields, and these prediction/review videos are a perfect way for me to do so. This video will consist of me going over what I got wrong in my prediction, what I got right, what I learned, and then lastly, my critiques of the episode. First, what I got wrong. The primary mistake I made was with regards to Crash's durability feat of surviving re-entry. I knew about this feat, yet for some reason in my head I just didn't think it was impressive enough to warrant coverage. I have no clue what I was thinking. So yeah, I knew about the feat, I didn't cover it, I should have, my bad. The rest of the things Death Battle covered that I did not were largely due to Death Battle just having more time and resources than I do, which is to say that there were games and feats that I lacked the skills and or time to cover. An unfortunate reality, but not one I can do anything about. That said, I have to give Death Battle kudos for their research regarding both the particle accelerator and, even more so, for the measurement of the lava golem's arm via St. Stephen's Basilica. That was really clever, so great job there. Anyway, that's it for what I got wrong, now for what I got right. Spyro won the death battle. Woohoo! My losing streak is finally over. In addition to predicting the outcome, I covered the majority of Crash Bandicoot's abilities and feats, and I covered the majority of what the second Spyro was capable of. That's everything I got right, now for what I learned. The absolute biggest lesson I learned from this prediction was that highballing is the way to go. If you guys didn't know, I have spent the majority of my prediction career lowballing everything. For some reason, I thought that was more scientific or something, but doing so has caused me nothing but grief. As such, with my Crash vs. Spyro prediction, I went into it with the goal of highballing everything, and the results were amazing. I have realized that there are three major advantages to highballing instead of lowballing. For one, it drastically increases the chances of me doing these characters justice, which is always ideal. In addition, Death Battle is all about maximum potential, which is just another way of saying highballing. So me going with this strategy is only going to put me more and more in line with Death Battle's methodology, which is the ultimate goal of this series. And lastly, highballing makes people happy. I was astounded to see in the comments for my prediction people thanking me for how I depicted Crash, despite the fact that I said he was going to lose. Sure, they were sad about that part, but more so they were just happy to see Crash being done justice. It didn't matter if Spyro was going to win, Crash looked awesome, and that's all they wanted. And frankly, if me lowballing makes you guys sad and me highballing makes you guys happy, then that's more than enough reason for me to highball everything from now on. There's no downside. It makes you guys happy, it makes the research process more enjoyable for me, and it increases the chances of my prediction being right. As such, I will be highballing everything from now on, and I can't wait to do so in my next prediction. That's everything I learned, now for my critiques. Generally speaking, Death Battle's research, analysis, and conclusions for this match were pretty solid. However, there were what appeared to be 2 research errors, 1 script error, and 2 script, well, not errors, but questionable decisions. First, let's look at the potential research errors. I say potential because Death Battle may have more information than I do, so what I think is a mistake may just be them drawing from a resource I don't know about. However, based off of what I do know, these seem like mistakes, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about them. The first mistake is with regards to their coverage of Mojo and jacking. They didn't really talk about jacking at all, and instead relegated it to these 3 side notes. Now, the first of these notes is fine. Mojo is life energy. That checks out. However, things start getting confusing once we hit the second note. Here they claim that Crash can only jack creatures made exclusively of Mojo, which is incorrect in two ways. The first being that Titans, or mutants, and I will be referring to them as mutants from now on, are not made exclusively of Mojo. As far as I'm aware, mutants are just regular animals that were mutated by Dr. Cortex's Mojo-powered Evolvo Ray. So, while it may be reasonable to say that these creatures contain a lot of Mojo, they're also still clearly biological in nature. But then there's the other part of the note, in which it states that Crash can only jack mutants and not other creatures, which is simply untrue. Crash has jacked both Crunch Bandicoot and Dr. Cortex at one point or another. Now, to be fair, both Crunch and Cortex were enhanced by Mojo energy at the time, but that doesn't make them mutants. Or if they do count as mutants, we have to expand Death Battle's definition of mutants to include biological creatures enhanced with Mojo, because that's what Crunch and Cortex are. They are still a Bandicoot and a human, which are biological creatures, they're just enhanced with Mojo. In short, this second note is a mess of bizarre interpretations that raise more questions than they answer. Either Crunch and Cortex being jackable proves that Crash can jack non-mutants, which disproves the latter half of this note, or we must define Crunch and Cortex as mutants, in which case that disproves their definition of mutants as purely Mojo creatures. Either way, this note is not accurate. Then we get to the final note, in which they state that Crash could not jack Spyro because Spyro was not made of Mojo. Now, we already disproved the whole made of Mojo requirement for jacking, but you could make the argument that Crash can only jack creatures that are enhanced with Mojo. However, even then, Spyro isn't safe. Mojo is just another name for life energy, meaning Crash can jack any biological creature enhanced with life energy. Guess what Spyro's ether is? Life energy, meaning Spyro the Dragon is a biological creature enhanced with life energy. As such, there is more evidence for Spyro being jackable than there is for him not being jackable, which effectively throws the third note out the window. Now, does this change the outcome of the match? No. Spyro still annihilates in every category, and there's no reason to think he would ever give Crash the chance to jack him, which means this whole discussion on jacking and Mojo doesn't really matter. And again, it's possible Death Battle is pulling these conclusions from a source I know nothing about, but given the information I do have, it seems like some mistakes were made. The second research error literally just consists of Death Battle having missed one of Crash's strength feats. In their analysis of him, they list his 8-ton boulder feat as his best strength feat. However, he has a better one in the form of him damaging Ripperoo. I covered this in my prediction, but just as a refresher, in his boss battle, Ripperoo was able to endure a nitroglycerin crate exploding in his face without suffering any damage, yet when Crash hit him, he suffered significant damage. This proves that Crash's spin attack must hit at least as hard as an exploding nitroglycerin crate. In my prediction, I roughly estimated that such a crate could explode with as much as 4.7 billion joules of energy. Now let's compare that to the boulder feat. First we'll look at the amount of energy needed to shatter the boulder. For this calculation, I utilized this handy book, which I will link in the description below. Within this book is a set of data tables listing the amounts of energy needed to shatter different types of rocks in different quantities. Using this information, I was able to extrapolate that the amount of energy needed to shatter an 8-ton boulder, which I will assume is made of granite, would be about 78,700 joules of energy. However, Crash didn't just break the boulder, he sent it flying through the air. In this instance, the boulder traveled about 20 feet in just under a second, which means it was traveling about 13.6 miles per hour. An 8-ton boulder impacting at that speed would hit with about 134,000 joules of energy. However, even that number is nothing compared to the nitroglycerin feat. As it stands, when you compare these two feats directly, Crash Bandicoot is over 34,000 times stronger than what they depicted in the death battle. Now, does this change the outcome of the match? Again, no, because Spyro is even stronger than that, which is a nice segue into discussing the one script error that I noticed Death Battle made. In the post-battle analysis for this fight, they argued that Crash was stronger because he moved that 8-ton boulder. However, as many people, including myself, quickly pointed out, Spyro has a much better strength feat in the form of him matching and surpassing the lava golem in a tug of war. And Death Battle themselves measure the lava golem's arm to weigh over 400,000 tons, which is vastly heavier than Crash's boulder. However, the reason I call this a script error instead of a research error is because Death Battle knew about this strength feat. Why do I say that? Because they listed it right here. They just apparently forgot about it by the time they reached the post-battle analysis. What this indicates to me is that there was a miscommunication between the editor/research team and the script writer for the episode, which is totally understandable. Death Battle is a huge operation with a bunch of different people performing a bunch of different jobs on a bunch of different projects all the time, so it's inevitable that there's going to be some miscommunication from time to time, and I have no problem with that. They clearly knew about the feat and thus factored it into their decision for the matchup, it's just that the feat itself got accidentally left out of the final draft of the script, which is something I can totally relate to. I accidentally leave things out of my scripts all the time, so I totally get that. However, because they missed Crash's best strength feat, and they forgot to cover Spyro's best strength feat, we never really got to see the two compared at their maximum potential. And since we didn't get to see that happen in the Death Battle, I'm gonna go ahead and show it to you right now. We already know that Crash's striking power equals 4.7 billion joules of energy, so all we have to do is calculate Spyro's striking power. We know Spyro was stronger than the Golem, which means all we have to do is calculate the Golem's striking power, which will be quite easy since Death Battle already provided the weight of the Golem's arm and the minimum speed that arm could travel at. 400,000 tons of rock moving at 15 miles an hour would impact with about 8.1 billion joules of energy. Spyro was stronger than the Golem, which means his striking power would have to be even higher than that. And as we compare that to Crash's nitroglycerin feat, we now see that, at their full potential, Spyro is nearly twice as strong as Crash, which only further cements the idea that Spyro easily wins this matchup. That's the last of the outright mistakes I noticed in the episode, however there are still two questionable script choices that I would like to discuss. These aren't mistakes on Death Battle's part, they're just choices they made with the script that I don't entirely agree with. The first is their coverage of Aku Aku, or to be more precise, their lack of coverage. Aku Aku is, in their own words, a godlike entity who they clearly allowed Crash to carry into battle. And if they're going to allow a god to assist Crash in battle, then they need to discuss the abilities of said god. Yet, they barely mentioned his abilities at all. They didn't even throw up a sidebar listing his powers, which is weird because Death Battle is normally really good about this sort of thing. Yet this time they just sort of dropped the ball. Aku Aku is a big part of who Crash Bandicoot is, and not talking about him in depth is really doing a disservice to the character. So yeah, I don't agree with that. Moving on. The second script choice that I don't agree with is really more of a nitpick on my part, but I might as well talk about it while I'm here. Specifically, I found it odd how they went on and on in the post-battle analysis about how hard it was for Spyro to kill Crash. And I'm just like, guys, you just showed us Spyro moving planets. That's more than enough power to kill Crash 1,000,000 times over. Crash is tough, I get it, but if Spyro dropped a continent on his head, I'm pretty sure that would kill him. So, yeah, I thought that was a little silly, but again, just a nitpick. And it's also my final critique of the episode, which means we've reached the end of the video. Despite all my criticisms, I actually thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Everything from the animation, to the editing, to the script was just fantastic, and I had a really good time. To be honest, Season 5 hadn't really been that enjoyable for me up until now, for various reasons, but Crash vs. Spyro was definitely a return to form for Death Battle, and I hope they can keep it up, because this was definitely a fun episode. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this match as much as I did, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I put a lot more effort into this one than I normally do, so I hope that's to your liking. However, none of this matters because Sora is coming to Death Battle, holy cow! In case you weren't aware, I am a massive Kingdom Hearts fan, which means not only am I super hyped for this match, but I'm also super biased. It is going to be an uphill battle to not just give Sora the win because I want him to. In all seriousness, if there are any Kid Icarus fans out there, I will be doing everything in my power to do Pit the justice he deserves. I will be highballing everything about him just like I promised. However, to any Kingdom Hearts fans out there, don't worry, I got you covered. I am gonna highball the ever-living crap out of Sora. I'm gonna make him look like Jesus. By the time I'm done with him, you're gonna be thinking, oh my god, he should fight Goku. That's how awesome I'm gonna make Sora look. Anyway, I'm rambling, so let's wrap this up. Like if you enjoyed the video, comment if you got something to say, subscribe if you want to see more, and as always, have a fantastic day.